My friends, the greatest trap in life is the belief that we must chase what we desire. We stretch out our hands toward the thing we want, and in doing so, we confess that it is not yet ours. The very act of striving whispers lack. The more we pursue, the more distant it seems, for we are declaring again and again, I do not have it yet. But listen closely, creation is already finished. Every state you could ever wish to experience already exists. The wealth, the health, the love, the recognition, all of it is here now, waiting only for you to assume it. Life does not ask you to chase, but to be. You cannot enter a new state by effort, by struggle, by trying to climb some invisible ladder. You enter it by acceptance, by quiet surrender. You slip into it as you would a garment, by feeling yourself already clothed in the thing desired. When you stop trying, when you stop grasping, when you cease declaring through effort that it is not yours, you suddenly find yourself in possession of it. The secret is not in pursuit, but in assumption. Do not reach out for love. Rest in the knowing that you are already loved. Do not beg for wealth. Feel the security of already having it. Do not strain for healing. Embody the wholeness of already being well. This is the paradox. The moment you no longer try to get it, you have it. Because having is a state of consciousness, not a pile of objects. To possess, you must become. So tonight, stop striving, stop the restless effort. Be still and dare to accept the reality of your desire as though it were here. Feel its presence, rest in its certainty, and in that surrender, the outer world will rearrange itself to mirror the inner truth. Creation is already finished. This is the mystery hidden in plain sight, yet so rarely grasped. We live in a world where we are taught to believe everything is unfolding step by step, that life is a long road leading to some future destination, that what we want will one day come if we labor hard enough or wait patiently enough. But the truth is far more astonishing and far more liberating. Every possibility, every outcome, every state of being you could ever desire already exists. Nothing is to be created in you. It is all here, complete, waiting to be recognized and assumed. The work is not to bring something into being, but to tune yourself to the version of reality where it is already accomplished. Think of life as a great tapestry woven outside of time. Every thread, every color, every pattern already lies complete, though your eye sees only one portion at a time. You may think the picture is forming as you walk, but in truth it is already there in its entirety. What you call future is not something that does not exist yet. It is only a segment of the tapestry you have not turned your gaze upon. You shift your perspective, and the scene changes. You alter your state of consciousness, and you enter another part of what has always been finished. This is why struggle and striving feel so heavy. When you believe something must be achieved, you are unknowingly declaring that it does not yet exist, and therefore you push it away. You are working against the grain of reality. The finished work does not respond to pressure. It responds to recognition. To assume it is done is to allow it to reveal itself. To feel it here and now is to let your attention rest on that portion of the eternal tapestry where it already is. All desires are simply invitations to shift awareness. When you long for something, it is life whispering that the state you crave already exists, that you are being called to inhabit it. Desire is not proof of absence. It is the signal of presence. It is evidence that what you seek is already woven into the whole. You would not even imagine it if it were not already a living reality somewhere within the great design. So creation is not unfolding. Creation is finished. You do not build a new house brick by brick in consciousness. The house is already complete in another dimension of reality. You need only step into the awareness of dwelling there. You do not carve out success by effort upon effort in the hope it will arrive one day. Success exists now in the eternal. You need only clothe yourself in its feeling, walk as though it is yours, and let the visible world rearrange to match what has always been true. This changes everything. No longer must you think of life as a distant journey toward something better. You no longer wait for fulfillment. You no longer postpone joy until conditions align. You recognize that every version of yourself already lives, already breathes, already moves within the finished creation. All you must do is choose which version to occupy. The power is not in building, but in selecting. Not in struggling forward, but in resting inwardly upon the reality of the accomplished fact. Creation is already finished means that the fullness of life is yours the moment you dare to accept it. The moment you feel it real, it rises from the unseen to the seen. The moment you embody it within, the outer world bows to that inner state. There is no delay except the one you impose by insisting it is not yet done. There is no barrier except the belief that it lies far off. You stand already within the infinite field of completed realities, and each desire is simply the call to remember what has always been yours. Striving affirms lack. The very act of reaching out for what you want declares to yourself and to the world that you do not yet possess it. Effort, in the way most people understand it, is a confession of absence. When you try hard to make something happen, you are unconsciously stating that it is not yours. And the more you strain, the louder that statement becomes. Every attempt to grasp, to chase, to struggle is evidence of a mind caught in the belief of separation from its desire. It is like chasing your own shadow. The faster you run, the further away it seems to move. Because you are affirming by the chase that you and what you seek are two different things. The mind is subtle in this. It convinces you that striving is noble, that constant effort proves dedication, that struggle earns reward. Yet beneath these appearances lies a deeper truth. Striving only keeps you bound to the state of not having. If you believe you must fight for love, then you affirm you are unlovable until proven otherwise. If you believe wealth requires endless strain, then you affirm that poverty is your current truth and wealth lies outside your grasp. If you believe health is something you must chase with desperation, you affirm sickness as your foundation. The struggle is never against the world, but against your own assumption of lack. When you say, "I want this," you may not notice the hidden admission within the words. "I do not have it." The very desire becomes tangled with a denial, and as long as the denial remains active, the striving continues, feeding on itself like a loop with no end. The outer world simply reflects the inner state, and so long as the state of not having is dominant, the world faithfully mirrors it with evidence that confirms your belief. This is why people labor for years without seeing their desires fulfilled. They are working from the wrong premise. They believe effort brings possession, when in truth, effort in the sense of striving is only the echo of lack. True possession does not come through straining, but through assumption. To assume is to rest inwardly in the feeling of already having, already being, already embodying the thing desired. This does not mean passivity, it means alignment. From this alignment, actions naturally flow, but they are not born from lack. They arise from the state of already being fulfilled. The distinction is everything. One who strives declares absence. One who assumes declares presence. And the world responds not to outer movement of the body, but to the inner state of being. Consider the difference between a person who anxiously pursues love and one who quietly radiates the knowing that they are already loved. The first chases, grasps, worries, doubts, and continually affirms loneliness. The second does not strive. They embody wholeness, and from that wholeness, love flows toward them without effort. The striving person says, "I need this to complete me." The one who assumes says, "I am already complete, and life reflects my completeness." Both live in the same world, but their inner states draw entirely different experiences. The same holds true with wealth. The one who constantly worries about money, striving day and night to secure it, affirms lack with every anxious thought. Their actions may be endless, but they are chained to a belief of insufficiency. Another, who assumes abundance is natural, does not strain. Their actions are not frantic, but inspired, not forced, but flowing. Wealth becomes the natural expression of their inner state, not the reward for their striving. The truth is that striving is rooted in fear. Fear that you will not receive, fear that you are unworthy, fear that life will withhold. And so long as fear drives the effort, lack remains the dominant vibration. To release striving is to release fear. It is to rest in the certainty that what you desire is already contained within you, already woven into the finished creation. Striving says, "Do not yet have." Assumption says, "I already am." The world will always echo the voice you choose to speak within yourself. Assumption, not pursuit, brings possession. To assume is to claim inwardly the reality you desire, to rest in the feeling that it already belongs to you, even before any evidence appears. Pursuit, on the other hand, keeps the desired thing always at a distance. When you pursue, you chase. When you assume, you embody. The distinction is subtle, but it determines the entire experience of life. Pursuit implies that the thing sought is separate from you, outside of you, waiting to be caught if only you can run fast enough or work hard enough. Assumption declares that separation is an illusion, that the thing desired is already yours because it exists now in consciousness, and consciousness is the root of all manifestation. Every state of being is like a room in a vast house. To pursue is to run frantically through the halls, searching for the right door, believing it is locked or hidden. To assume is simply to enter the room and live within it. The room already exists. You do not build it by effort. You do not create it by strain. You simply choose it. Assumption is that choice. When you clothe yourself in the feeling of already being the person who lives the reality you desire, you have entered the room. The outer world then rearranges to reflect the inner dwelling place. Pursuit is noisy. It is filled with restless motion, plans upon plans, strategies upon strategies. It is the mind forever reaching forward, never satisfied, always convinced the goal lies just beyond reach. Assumption is quiet. It does not scramble or hurry. It rests in the knowing that what is assumed inwardly must appear outwardly. It does not argue with appearances. It does not fight circumstances. It allows appearances to shift because it knows they are only shadows cast by the inner state. Think of someone who desires recognition. In pursuit, they chase approval, flatter others, struggle to be seen, and work endlessly to prove themselves. Yet all the while they are affirming invisibility, affirming unworthiness, affirming lack of recognition. But if they were to assume recognition, to feel within themselves the dignity and value of already being acknowledged, their conduct would change without effort. They would walk with quiet assurance. They would no longer beg for attention, but naturally command it. Assumption would do the work that pursuit could never accomplish. The same principle applies to love. The one who pursues love grasps and clings, endlessly trying to win affection, to secure someone else's attention, to prove themselves desirable. But this pursuit only magnifies the sense of loneliness, because it declares, I do not yet have. Yet the one who assumes love, who inwardly rests in the certainty of being cherished, radiates a presence that naturally draws love toward them. Without striving, without anxious effort, love appears because assumption has already made it real within. With wealth, the story repeats. Pursuit chases money with tension and fear, affirming scarcity even in the act of laboring for abundance. Assumption, however, steps into the feeling of already being supported, already secure, already abundant. From that state, ideas flow, opportunities appear, actions feel natural rather than desperate. Wealth comes not as a prize for endless pursuit, but as the reflection of an assumed identity. To assume is not to pretend in a shallow way. It is not to force yourself to believe against reason. It is to enter inwardly into the experience of already being, already having, already dwelling in the reality desired. It is to make the inner state so vivid, so natural that the outer world cannot help but conform. Pursuit demands effort upon effort, but assumption demands only acceptance. Pursuit runs toward tomorrow, but assumption lives in the now. Pursuit cries, one day it will be mine. Assumption whispers, it is already mine. Possession flows from being, not from chasing. What you assume yourself to be, you become an experience. The world outside is only a mirror, and the mirror reflects not pursuit, but assumption. When you assume a state, you claim it in consciousness, and consciousness is the only substance from which reality is formed. Pursuit tries to grasp the shadow, but assumption grasps the source. The shadow then follows effortlessly because it cannot do otherwise. Being still reveals fulfillment. In stillness, you step away from the restless mind that insists something is missing, that something must be pursued, that life is incomplete until a desire arrives in form. Stillness is the doorway through which you see what has always been present. When you allow the endless chatter of striving and doubt to subside, you discover that the very state you were reaching for is already within you. The noise of effort blinds you. The silence of stillness reveals. Fulfillment is not born in the future. It is not waiting at the end of some long road. Fulfillment is a state of awareness available here and now, but it cannot be perceived while the mind is in motion, chasing endlessly after proof. The moment you are still, you touch the depth of being where all things are complete. In this depth, there is no sense of lack, because the sense of lack belongs only to the surface agitation of thought. Beneath it, in stillness, all is whole. Imagine water disturbed by constant waves. When the surface is troubled, you cannot see clearly what lies beneath. The reflection is broken, the image distorted. But when the water grows calm, the reflection becomes perfect, the depths become visible. So it is with you. The striving mind disturbs the waters, keeping fulfillment hidden. The still mind reveals the reflection of what has always been. Stillness does not create fulfillment, it uncovers it. When you practice being still, you discover that the desires you hold are not signals of absence, but invitations to recognize presence. They are reminders of what you already are. In stillness, you can feel the reality of these desires without grasping, without demanding, without fear. You can let the feeling of already having settle into your being. And that quiet acceptance draws it into form. It is not the anxious motion of effort that accomplishes this, but the serene alignment of stillness. Stillness allows you to shift identity. When you are caught in motion, you are too entangled with appearances to step into another state. You are busy reacting to circumstances, struggling to control them, and in that struggle you reinforce the very state you wish to leave. But in stillness, the grip of circumstances loosens, the noise of appearances fades. In that space, you can feel yourself into another identity, another state of being. And once assumed, that state expresses itself without resistance. Being still is not mere physical inactivity. It is inner quiet, the suspension of doubt, the release of struggle. You may move through your day, act in the world, fulfill tasks, yet inwardly remain still. This stillness is a recognition that all creation is finished, that you need not chase what is already yours. It is a silent trust, an unspoken knowing that the outer must reflect the inner, and the inner has already claimed fulfillment. Consider the one who desires health. If they are restless, they chase remedies, worry endlessly, and focus upon the body's every signal with fear. Their striving affirms sickness. But if they become still even for a moment, they touch the wholeness that lies beneath appearances. They rest in the feeling of already being well, and in that stillness, they embody health. The body then responds not to the restless pursuit of healing, but to the quiet recognition of already being whole. The same truth appears in wealth. The restless person constantly counts, fears loss, and struggles to secure more. The still person, however, does not deny appearances, but does not bow to them either. They remain inwardly calm, resting in the sense of already being provided for. This stillness radiates confidence, and from that state, opportunities arise, doors open, supply flows. In love, too, stillness reveals fulfillment. The restless lover grasps and clings, driven by fear of being alone. But stillness dissolves fear. In stillness, one rests in the awareness of already being loved, already being worthy, already being whole. From that awareness, relationships form with ease, not as a remedy for loneliness, but as an overflow of inner completeness. Being still is the art of letting go of the need to force. It is the willingness to trust the unseen reality more than the shifting evidence of the senses. It is the quiet space where desire and fulfillment merge into one, where what you long for is felt as already yours, and where the outer world has no choice but to conform to the still conviction within.